Welcome to the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Whether inside or outside the loop, we are talking everything soccer in Houston. Y'all ready? Let's get it.
Welcome into a special edition of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. We're pleased today to be joined by the brand new Houston Dynamo 2 head coach, Marcelo Santos. Marcelo, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome to Houston. And you just got here not too long ago, but what was it about Houston, this Dynamo organization, that drew you to this job?
Actually, many things. Obviously, the style that the team plays, it's a really strong draw to me. The culture around the club, I've heard so many things about the people, especially in the leadership group. Ben Olsen running the first team. Those are things that are really important to me. It's always good to be in an environment with good people and trying to have winners around us. I think that's what brought me in.
And in the last few years, you've worked with two different MLS Cup winning coaches with Bruce Arena and Caleb Porter. What have you been able to take away from your time working with them?
Yeah, they're very different leadership style from Bruce and Caleb. But for me, with Bruce coming in, he changed the whole structure of the club right away, quick. So definitely a lot of takeaways in terms of how to manage the group and give some leeway to the players. Obviously brought a lot of important talents, guys that had long careers for the Revs at the time he was there. And then Caleb last year, obviously trying to rebuild the squad and his work ethic and, the ability to pass into the players what he wants to do and not give in. Obviously changing a lot of players this year because he said what he wants, and hopefully he's able to get that.
So you came from New England most recently, which we talked about. We've seen a number of New England first homegrown players, young players, get promoted to the first team. Noel Buck, we've seen go over. Esmir has gone over. So you have a lot of development success with a lot of these players. What has that been like, seeing these players that, started as basically kids with you and getting them up to these, European competitions?
Yeah, I think that's the main goal to a second team program. It starts with young, great talent, but see them develop. It's a big jump from the second team to the first team. So sometimes they have the talent, but they miss something and they never make it, let's say, to the first team. But I think the goal is not just to become part of the roster. We want to see guys that are playing weekend in, weekend out, and potentially get an opportunity overseas, like it happened to Esmir and even with Noel. But I think we can see really right away some guys taking year after year and improving and getting the opportunity. And some guys, they go up, they go down. It becomes a lot messier because I believe development is like that. It's never linear, and we have to be there to embrace the challenge, but also be with them when they struggle.
Last year we saw with Kenny Bundy leading the team, the second team started to reflect a little bit more of what the first team was doing in terms of their shape and play style. Is this something you plan to build on?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the reasons I'm here in Florida. The staff in the first team have been really open to share their ideas. I've been involved in training. So the idea is to pass the message to the second team, because we expect that some of those guys will have opportunity and they are training the same way, they're playing the same way. So the transition between second team and first team is much seamless, even what we had in the past weekend.
Speaking of Dynamo 2, Diego Gonzalez, a guy we've seen here for a while now, a homegrown kid who's been here a while. He's still only 22, so still a young kid, but he's been around this team for a while. How important is it to have a guy like Diego as a leader, a guy that's been on this team for a while, been in the club for a while?
Super important. Our team, if you look, the current squad, we have a lot of talent, but very young players, right? So they don't have a blueprint or they don't have standards. Not exactly how it is in the first team. So having older players that can maybe show them the way and at times hold them accountable if things are not how we expect. So guys like Diego, Femi, and others are very important for a second team level.
So far, since the Dynamo 2's existed, the biggest success story has been Mikael with the first team. Is there anyone on this roster that stands out to you that you think could be that next Mikael?
Yes, I think right now it won't be, or at least I don't anticipate to be like next year. But if you see our roster, we have guys at 15, 16s that hopefully they will get the chance to be a first team player and have a long career in MLS. I think it's too soon to say names, but we are also always trying to bring international players like Mikael that have the ability to, in a 6-month period or a year period, make a jump to the first team and be an impact player. Right now, there are some conversation about bringing players like him, but it's a little bit too soon to be too excited. Let's say that way.
Definitely. We've heard a lot about from Pat and Asher and a lot of the club about how the team was really high in the homegrown minutes last year. A lot of the younger guys getting minutes through the second team up to the first team. Is that something you think we're going to see more of as you guys continue to build? I know this academy and the club was kind of bare for a little while, but it looks like there's a lot of good young players here now.
Yeah. It is interesting because I've been working at second team level for the past 5 years, and every year is different. Even if you have success, I would say from the last 4 years with the Dynamo, every year you'll see difference. For example, a lot of the guys that played many minutes last year, they will probably stay with the second team, right? So now they're a year older, they have more experience, so the expectation is higher. Some of them are also going to be playing in the first team, or at least be training more consistently with the first team. So I would say the expectation is probably going to be a little higher, but we expect to see the minutes, like you said, and hopefully they take the advantage of the opportunities.
As a coach on a second team, what is your balance like at trying to develop players for the first team, but also trying to field a very competitive side to go ahead and try to win that MLS Next Pro trophy?
Yeah, I don't think, if you ask me, that my main objective is ever to win a trophy. But if you ask me how important is winning, I think it's very, very important. You know, the players are going to hear from me that we want to get on the field, whether we're playing the best team out there or a team that is not doing well, that we expect to win. And we're going to try to develop that mentality that we're going to put the effort until the last minute. In every game, in every training session, everything we do, it's about winning. But we have to understand that maybe the players we're choosing on the field, maybe the choices we are making in terms of lineup doesn't give the best chance to winning. And for me, that's the development piece. So it is the priority is development, but winning comes very close to be the second. And I would say it's even a gray area that sometimes, you know, you push one way or the other, depends on how the team is progressing. If we get to the end of the season, we're in the playoffs, obviously we're going to try to push them to have more challenging games, which would be more semifinal or final, because, you know, the exposure they get, the challenge they get as they get closer to a final game or a cup game, it is very, very important for their development. So it's always going to be in the back of the head, but development is obviously what drives us.
And we've seen in recent years at the Dynamo, especially at Dynamo 2, a lot of young South American players coming here on loan with options. As a Brazilian, you know, you obviously have seen a lot of these guys. What is your thoughts on that kind of pipeline for the Dynamo with bringing in these young South Americans?
Yeah, I actually, that's another thing that drew me in, because I believe there's a lot of untapped talent in South America and in Latin America. And the the climate, the style of play of the club, the culture of the club, I think will help those players. And I think the more the MLS grows and the MLS Next Pro continues to grow, those players are going to be drawn into here. And I think we can take advantage and, create those MLS players with a much lower budget.
Over the last few years, kind of the discussion about the MLS Super Draft is that it's kind of not as important as it used to be. What are your thoughts on the development of the draft over the years, and how much do you plan to use the player that was drafted this year and some of the guys last year, like Norgiamfi?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You see the last few years, obviously the draft is not as impactful as it has been, let's say 5-10 years ago. But it's never something that we should turn away. And I think the club has done a really good job identify players to bring in. And some of them are going to stick, some are not. Femi is a really good example, right? It wasn't drafted, but we gave it the opportunity. In 1 year, he was able to get a MLS contract. So we are always having eyes in college players. Some of them are going to be drafted. Some are going to be brought into preseason. And some of them are going to take the opportunity. The hardest thing for them is the age, right? So we're getting guys that are good, but they're 22, at times 21. And in comparison, we have our academy prospect. They are 15, 16s. They will have potentially 5 years in the same environment to grow. And I think that's what we have to weigh in.
Marcelo, before we let you go, I know you're new to town, so you haven't got a lot of Houston, but what have you thought of Houston so far? Has Arthur and Mikael, have they kind of given you some of the good Brazilian spots around town?
Yes, I'm really excited. Obviously, a huge city. I think you have a lot of diversity in Houston, and I'm all for that. I heard on the west side, there's a big Latin America community. But I wanted to be out there to the community because obviously the club want to foster that connection and bring people excitement and obviously the people that love the game to the stadium and be around the second team. I think it's important, and I want to be part of it.
He's Houston Dynamo 2 head coach Marcelo Santos. Marcelo, we really appreciate the time. Best of luck this season, and we'll talk to you again real soon. I
appreciate your time. It was great to meet you and be part of the program today. Thank you. Houston!